More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wondergate, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. No Daz this week as he's off having his undercarriage wax sealed, but in a week when two teenagers mistakenly left a knapsack containing marijuana and cash at a donation area outside a New Zealand charity shop and then returned in a panic to retrieve the bag, police said on Monday. A volunteer at the store noticed a pungent aroma before opening the knapsack and finding plastic bags of marijuana amounting to 43.2 grams and 3,700 New Zealand dollars, which is about 2,200 American dollars, in banknotes. New Zealand police said in a statement, using marijuana recreationally, selling the drug is illegal in New Zealand, and some medical use is allowed with a doctor's prescription. The boy and girl left the knapsack outside the shop as they waited for their vehicle to be serviced in a nearby workshop, the police statement said. Officers were called after the agitated teens returned to the store. Police found an air pistol, which those under 18 can't possess without a license and adult supervision, a police scanner, and more cash in the teens' car. Police didn't divulge details about any charges the arrested teens faced or if they appeared in a court. And so, fresh from a charity shop via Mackie D's with the Munchies, it's Jamie!
Because I got high, because I got high, because I got high.
Because of the Munchies, you mean?
No, you were talking about marijuana. You never heard that song?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah,
I have heard that song. Yes, absolutely. Hello, mate. Hello, mate. I couldn't get Jim or mate out then. Hello, mate. You all right?
Hello, mate. All right? Yeah, all good.
I hope you've had a better week than I have. I've had a stinker of a week, to be brutally honest. Not helped by the result on Tuesday, I have to be honest.
Yeah, but I've had a cold, like a lingering, sniffly, horrible, shitty cold, which has been crap. But at least the weather seems to be getting a bit nicer. And yeah, like you say, Tuesday didn't help though.
And so as we head towards International Call-Up Week, obviously Kiefer Moore and Libby Kakache, Wrexham players, are out of their international squads due to injury, but 5 Wrexham players have been called up for the upcoming international break. For Cymru, Danny Ward is back in the fold after being injured, and Nathan Broadhead has been recalled as normal. For Scotland, Dom Hyam has been recalled for their friendlies, and that's obviously important for him because if he can stick with his place, he'll get into the World Cup squad, which would be great for him. Bailey Kadamatri has been called up for Jamaica, which he obviously has played for them before, and Issa Kabore has been called up for Burkina Faso. I mean, it just shows the height of us now. If Kiefer and Libby were fit, that means 7 of our squad would be international players. Great news, obviously, for the prestige of the club, but the time in the season where we're already struggling with fitness, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Are you nervous seeing these 5 players go out the door, potentially for them not to come back for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's always a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it, when you've got players going out on international duty. Like you say, it's. I mean, first and foremost, it's great for them, isn't it? As professional footballers, it's a huge honour to play for your country. So I'm sure that for them it's a huge deal. Like you say, purely from a selfish point of view and the stage we're at in the season and kind of what's going on at the minute. I'd prefer it if we didn't have any call-ups, or if they are going to get called up, they don't play any minutes. But it doesn't work like that. Yeah, it's always a little bit nervy, isn't it, when you have players go out on international duty? I think Hyam and probably Kabori are the two that you're really kind of worried about, because certainly Hyam, I don't think we can kind of afford anything happening to him. But look, it is what it is. There's no different to them potentially getting an injury in training, is it? It's just one of those things. So yeah, hopefully they'll go away, have a lovely time with their international teammates, won't play a lot of minutes, and come back refreshed.
I mean, are you concerned though that if they do play a lot of minutes, that's not good for Wrexham? Because obviously we need them fully fit for the last of the running games.
It doesn't matter what we need, does it? If it ultimately, as we well know, the kind of international powers seem to have quite a strong hold over players, don't they? And if they're called up and they're there, I mean, I think Kabori will play. I don't even know who Burkina Faso are playing in that international break. I mean, potentially that involves a bit of travelling as well. Again, I'm not even sure who Scotland are playing, to be fair, but it's purely from a selfish Wrexham point of view. Obviously, I'd love to kind of crawl to this international break and give the whole squad a rest, because I think it's needed. But like I say, if they play, they play, and what can you do?
So to start the week, or the end of last week, should I say, it was full-on showbiz as Wrexham welcomed Swansea to the Stoke Kairos for a Friday night under the lights. Jamie, let's look at the starting lineup first of all. 2 changes from the loss versus Hull a few days before. Longman was out, Kabore was in, and Rathbone was in for Windass. I don't want to talk too much about general fatigue, because I want to talk about that when we talk about the Watford game. But are you surprised he kind of is sticking with this back 3?
A little bit. I think when you think that we've got Dan Scarr on the bench, who's made a few cameos this season and has very much hasn't looked out of place. Brunt is back and fit again now. I am a little bit surprised, because if we'd have been keeping clean sheet after clean sheet, I could kind of understand, you don't want to change it up, but that's not really the case. We do concede goals, and like other areas of the team, the back 3 at times do look, in recent games have looked a bit dead on their feet. I think the problem is that I think Hyam he's a steady Eddie, isn't he? He's been so consistent since he's come in. He's not the quickest. He does get caught out from time to time, but overall he is a very, very solid defender, a great leader, and a great player to have at the centre of that 3. Obviously, he's the captain now as well. So, we know from last season, he playing every minute for Blackburn. If he's fit, he will play and he'll be picked. Doyle, we've talked about so much in the last few weeks. It's just on another level. But there's a part of me that thinks if there was another option in midfield, I wonder whether Viner would have now been brought in place of Max on that right hand side. But obviously, we've needed Viner in the middle there. But yes, to answer your question, I have been a little bit surprised that we've had so many games in such a short space of time. I am a little bit surprised we haven't seen a little bit of rotation. But it's obviously not me picking a team.
Well, after Franco's tame shot was easily saved by a Okonkwo inside 40 seconds, and Vigouroux had to be alert to claw away Broadhead's header at the other end during a very lively opening period, this was a really, really weird game for me. Swansea seemed to have so much possession and so much kind of impetus, but were completely, pointless in the final third because they came up with very, very little. Clearest opportunity fell to Vopotnik, of course, scorer of 19 goals across all competitions this season on 21 minutes as he latched onto Franco's sublime through ball, only to be denied by a fantastic save from Okonkwo. I mean, Jamie, you were there. I mean, it was a fiery start, where a bit of a basketball at times, but I honestly thought when I saw this going to Vopotnik and Vopotnik running on, I thought, this is it, we're 1-0 down. But what an incredible save by Arthur Okonkwo.
Yeah, before I say anything about the game, can I just say, Swansea fans are a weird bunch. It's a long time, it's a long time. I can't remember the last time we played Swansea where I was at a game. I know I have been, but it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But this was my first experience of them for some time.
They've not been to the Kairos in over 20 years.
Yeah. And they were a very odd bunch. Just very, very odd bunch.
But what do you mean odd? I mean, were they flinging shit or what?
Just the kind of the mannerisms and some of the things they were saying. I can't really repeat them, to be fair, but just really, really odd. Just odd behaviour and sort of saying things, trying to be sort of sarcastic, and it just didn't. A lot of what they were saying was just gibberish. But anyway, that's just a passing comment. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said the game was weird, because that's exactly what I would describe it as, exactly how I have described it. Very, very similar to what you've just said. It felt like Swansea dominated, but again, like I said a couple of weeks ago about, I can't remember who it was we played when I used the analogy of all fart, no shit. And that's how I felt leaving the game. That's how I felt. I know Arthur had made some big saves in the game, but I kind of walked away thinking they've had a lot of the ball. It looked pretty, but they were pretty toothless up front. But then it's quite interesting when I look back at the stats, and like you've got them on screen there. It's fairly even, but it didn't feel even
apart from possession. I mean, they've had two-thirds of the possession, but shots-wise,
as
virtually identical.
Yeah, as in chances, in the final third, it didn't feel like, yes, they've had a lot of the ball, and you could tell they'd had a lot of the ball, but it didn't feel like they'd done a lot with it in the final third. But they've had as many shots as us, and one more on target. At the end of the day, we dug in. I think we did play some nice stuff at times. Like you say, Arthur makes that massive save from Vopotnik quite early on. Look, don't get me wrong, it is a fantastic save, and you have to give Arthur credit for the save. But if I'm being brutally honest, for a striker of Vopotnik's calibre and the return he's had this season already, he should be burying that. He shouldn't give Arthur a chance. He made it very easy for Arthur, to be honest with you. But ultimately, Arthur can only save. He can only save what he can, and it has to go down as a good save. And it turned out to be a crucial save. And I think on Vopotnik, to be fair, obviously we know he's a quality player. He causes problems earlier in the season. He scored a lot of goals already this season.
And he has a name which could be a baddie in Sonic the Hedgehog as well. Don't let's not forget that.
Yeah. Dr. Vopotnik. But I've gotten... Yes, no, I nearly lost my train of thought there. I was just thinking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Just trying to find some gold rings. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze now.
No.
Oh, come on. It's gone.
It's gone.
On Vopotnik, to be fair, he had that chance where, to be fair, he bossed Domheim for that move. But I have to be honest and say that after that play, I thought Domheim managed him very, very well throughout the game. He was very quiet. But like from our point of view, obviously, Broadhead scores that fantastic goal, and it is a superb goal. Patient build up. Starts off with Sam Smith down the channel, and it works its way back across to the other side of the pitch. Great through ball to Broadhead, and that's when we've spoken about the good thing. I think I dare say at the end of the season we might we might reflect on some of these signings in a bit more detail. But I think it's safe to say that for Nathan Broadhead, it's been hit and miss, hasn't it? I think there's been some good things.
Certainly this week, you look at how he played Friday, then you look at how he played Tuesday. It's like two totally different players. Yeah. So weird.
And that's kind of what we've experienced with him since he signed, to be fair. We know he's capable of some fantastic things, but there's other times where you watch him play and you want to rip your eyes out your sockets because it's just frustrating. But that goal was epitomizes what he's capable of. I've said it before, not trying to be funny, but he's very Messi-esque when he runs with the ball. Quite small, low center of gravity, but he can move the ball so quickly, and and it seems like it's glued to his foot. And that was a great example of it. Fantastic little cut inside and a great finish. And I was, to be fair, I was thrilled to see that goal go in because it settled things down a little bit. I think it was weird the way you described it. I was going to say it was a very odd game, and you called it weird, and it was a very weird game because it just kind of carried on like that, where it seemed like we were under the cosh a lot of the time, but without really being massively threatened. But obviously, we go in 1-0 at half time, and happy days.
Well, Broadhead continued to bring with confidence and curled just wide shortly after the restart as Wrexham continued to threaten. Liam Cullum, Ji-sung, Yakule, Yalkue, I can never say his name, were all sent on by Matos prior to the hour mark. The Swans looked to add attacking quality to their control. Swansea swiftly improved in the final third as a result, with our Conco keeping it going. Stomach's thumping hit before Yaku lashed over. I mean, that was incredible because they were coming at us and they were playing around the box, and then suddenly shoots from nowhere, and I'm thinking, oh, this is in. And it's if Okonkwo's reactions again, how he got down so fast to keep that ball out was astounding.
That was a better save for me than that first one, and the Dr. Vopotnik one in the first half. That was a better save, I think. You've just kind of called it there. The fact that he got down so quickly, and we've kind of called this out before. It's so impressive that such.
How did he see it though? How did he? I barely saw it. I was watching it on telly.
It's that whole thing, isn't it? Of it, without question, it's the strongest part of his game, which is shot stopping. His reaction time, and his ability for such a big chap to get down like that as quickly as he did is phenomenal. There was another instant in the game where I think it was called for offside, but it was like he saved the shot on the line, which was another ridiculous save. I forget now who took the shot, but he wasn't being beaten on Friday. I think it was almost like he had a sort of personal vendetta after that mistake in the game earlier in the season. And he absolutely superb save and kept us going.
Swansea had a call for a penalty. Franco went down in the box in the challenge of Hyam, but it was waved away by the referee. Was it a penalty for you, Jim?
So, in the ground on the day, I was, I think the words wanker, get and up came out of my mouth. Because it just looked like a standard kind of defender stronger than the attacker nudge, little nudge. And he's tried to make the most of it. But if I'm being fair and honest, I've seen it back, and I think he's lucky. I think he is lucky.
I agree. I think a different referee, I think, would have given that, and we've seen that given.
There's an angle of it on the highlights that I rewatched today, where the camera is behind the referee, looking diagonally at the incident, and the referee's got a perfect view of it. You're spot on. I think another referee would give that, because what really makes me laugh is, and I say this all the time when we're watching games, is, when you get that instance where the ball maybe goes over the top or down the line and the defender jockeys the ball out, and he literally WWE style, restrains the attacker from getting the ball. And I always look at that and think, if that happened anywhere else on the pitch, it would be given as a free kick. But for some reason, it's allowed. And it was almost like that. It was such an over the top, unnecessary amount of force. Granted, it was on that Franco, who I think he wants to be a ballerina in an alternative life, because I think, to be honest with you, I think if you fart next to him, he'll fall down. But it did look excessive, to be fair. And if I'm being, I'm being honest and trying to be fair, I think we got away with one.
But obviously there was a late call for a Wrexham, a handball against the Swansea defender as long ball came over. I mean, again, if you look at it in slow motion on the telly, you're thinking, again, you could see that given, and possibly he'd be last man and the other red card. I mean, did you notice that at the time, or did you kind of think, oh no, it's a nothing?
Again, live in the stadium when this has happened, again, I think similar words, wanker, get, and off were probably the words that came out of my mouth. Again, I think in hindsight and with a bit of time to reflect on it, I think the referee's probably got that right. It was a yellow, because I think there was still so far to go between him and the goal. You can't call that a goal scoring opportunity. Technically, he was the last defender, but there were players coming around him. And when you've got the full half of the pitch to run, you can't call that a goal scoring opportunity. So, again, at the time, I was screaming for he should be, get him off. But again, looking at it back and reflecting on it, I think that's the right call from the referee. I think it was a technical foul. I think if you want to give it a label, and a yellow card probably was the right call for. Again, was it deliberate? Was it just? I don't know, but I think the referee got that one right.
Well, the game was starting to get stretched as Swansea were desperately trying to, get at least an equaliser. But the points were sealed 2 minutes from the end. O'Brien was fouled and a free kick inside the Swansea half. Passed the ball to George Thomason. George Thomason whipped this fantastic cross right into the meat of the box, headed down by Doyle. Bounces off Liam Cullen, Welsh international, and in it goes for Wrexham to be 2-0 up. I mean, that kind of put it to bed, Jamie. Were you pleased to see Wrexham manage to double the lead? Because Swansea were looking threatening up to that point.
Yeah, I memean, a 1-0, a 1-0 is never a comfortable. It's never a comfortable kind of scoreline to be watching. And we've seen already this season where we've had leads and we've lost them late on. So the second goal was very welcome. A little bit of luck, but you give some credit to Thomason's ball in. It was such a good ball in. Doyle's done what he needs to and gets on the end of it. But like I say, a little bit of fortune that it's come off Cullen and gone into the net. I think 2-0 is probably harsh. I think a 2-0 victory is probably a bit harsh on Swansea. But lucky, I think you've got to give some credit to Wrexham, although they had long periods of that game without the ball. They were clinical when it mattered, and took the key chances, and obviously did what Swansea couldn't do, which is put the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, I was delighted to get that second goal. It very much took the pressure off, and it was nice to just secure a victory. And I think the most important thing is that it was a decent performance. It wasn't breathtaking, but it was decent. And I think when you consider the other two fixtures that we've played this season against Welsh opposition, which were both horrendous, that was, for me, that was a minimum on Friday, was a performance, and then hopefully a victory we've managed to get a victory. So we finished the season, on we won one, they won one. Happy days.
I mean, I'm just glad we got a result, and we maintain the fact that we are the best team in Wales at the moment, which is fantastic to see. Two things while you were in the ground, Jamie. Obviously, Wrexham Women were paraded with the Gennaro Adran Trophy at half time. That was good to see, wasn't it? How did the crowd take that?
It was a little bit of a surprise because obviously the PA system in the Kairos is
I can fart louder.
Yeah, I think it's just like I think it's a bloke stood in Kaya Park with a megaphone because it sounds like it's that far away. It was a little bit like the Joey Jones tribute before the Chelsea game. You could hear something going on, but you can't hear what's being said. It drastically needs sorting out. It was obviously realised that what was happening fairly quickly. The team were all sat in the lower tech end, just to the side of the goal. Obviously the fans that had stayed in their seats at half time, which is still, it is a lot at the racecourse because, as you well know, the facilities are pretty shite and a lot of people don't even bother trying to go down for food and drink or even for a pee because it's just a nightmare. So there's a lot of people staying in the stands, and it was lovely. They came out, faced all three sides of the ground and got a nice cheer, a nice round of applause. I think it was Rosie Hughes was carrying the trophy and was giving it a few little wiggles towards the Swansea fans, who obviously they were delighted to see. But it was lovely for them to do that. Again, there's part of me that thinks, would that not be done better off before kickoff, so that maybe 10 minutes before kickoff, just after the players have gone off from warming up, because then the stadium's pretty full, and clearly tell people what's happening. But either way, the fact that they got to parade it in front of the fans in some form was good. And absolutely, they got a lovely reception from the people that were still in their seats.
And Jodie and Jenny were interviewed as well by Sky, which was great. So they had a nice conversation with them.
Okay.
And then obviously, while you were sitting watching the game, I was too busy holding a gun at everybody in the UK's head. So they had to watch Rob and Ryan's commentary. I mean, so first of all, I watched Rob and Ryan's commentary. Not the best commentary in the world, I have to be honest. I mean, you really do need to be a Wrexham fan. It wasn't really commentary. It was like if me and you did it. It was a mess, pretty much. I mean, they had a guy from Sky who's an ex-player. Again, not really a commentator. He more comments on how the game's played, and they're asking questions. And it was very nice banter. And I can understand why some people who are not Wrexham fans would not want to watch it. But you are not forced to watch it. You had the option of going on to main event on Sky and watching the standard single picture with the standard commentary. Absolutely. Or you could go onto the football on the red button side and have split screen with this commentary. You had a choice. Okay. The amount of fume, the amount of press, the amount of nonsense that I've heard this week about they wouldn't let anybody else do this. This is an outrage. Football's gone. All this kind of stuff. I mean, Jamie, obviously we make a bit of a rod for our back because we are. I would have to say probably, and I'm saying this maybe with a little bit of tongue in cheek. Are we the most hated club in the UK right now?
Probably.
What, more than MK Dons?
Yeah. Look, I watched a few of the clips back. Like you say, I was at the game, so I didn't see it live, and I've not rewatched the whole thing back and listened to it, but I've watched lots of clips of them. It was very Rob and Ryan. It was jovial, piss-taking fun.
There was a lot of promoting of Wrexham. There was a lot of promoting of the club, of course.
But look,
but would you want to watch Snoop Dogg and Luka Modric do this?
Well,
no, because they wouldn't give. These are two entertainers. Okay, this is their job.
Given that I mean, to answer your question directly, given that Snoop Dogg probably doesn't know what day of the week he is because he's stoned out of his head, and Luka Modric has got about as much personality as a Yellow Pages, I would say probably not. Look, first and foremost, right, Sky would have asked them to do this. This is not Wrexham or Rob and Ryan going to Sky saying, can we come and do commentary on a game? Sky would have done this. And it's nothing to do with the fact it's Wrexham. It's to do with the fact that it's Rob and Ryan and because of what they've done. The amount of fucking morons online, like you said, that were absolutely fuming. Oh, this is a disgrace. Why have we got to listen to this? Da, 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 da. Well, as you just said, for starters, it was optional. Nobody said you had to listen to it.
No, absolutely. One guy I saw, he was saying, I am stopping my Sky subscription. Why am I paying for this? You're not paying for this. You're paying for many, many things, and this is just a part of it.
Well, to that gentleman, you're welcome, because when you phoned Sky up to cancel your subscription, I bet you they gave you a cheaper deal, so you're welcome. Look, I think the fact that it was optional, which was completely missed by a lot of people, was crazy. But a few people have made the point, and whilst it's maybe tongue in cheek and meant jovially, it's actually probably a very valid point. I watch a lot of Premier League football most weekends, during the week, and I like the Sky coverage. I think Sky's coverage is spot on. I've got no real issues with any of the commentators or any of the pundits. But most weeks you have Gary Neville commentating on Man United games. You have Jamie Carragher commentating on Liverpool games. And as much as they are, they will give honest opinions and things, they are quite biased towards Man United and Liverpool, respectively. So it's not a lot of difference, except that's mainstream commentary that you don't have a choice but to listen to unless you mute your TV. The most important thing that's come out of this for me this week is like you say, it's just adding fuel to the fire of this hatred towards Wrexham. And I'm going to call it what it is. It's just jealousy. The bottom line is Rob and Ryan have done more for football in this country than a hell of a lot of other people have. They are, from an owner's perspective, look at what they do. Look at, they turn up and come and watch games. There are owners in the British game, in the Premier League in particular. They never even set foot in the stadium. Nope. It's a nonsense. All this hatred and vitriol is all based on jealousy. That's what it is, because there isn't a club, outside of the big clubs of the Premier League, there isn't a club in the land that wouldn't want to have the same thing happen to their club as what's happened to our club. Look, to try and be a little bit fair about it, I can understand because the media narrative on it is a bit it makes me sick sometimes. I mean, the Sky Sports Football Twitter account, for example, was just post after post after post of clips of Rob and Ryan. So I can kind of understand to a point why it pees some people off, because I think if that was, I can understand. I can understand why that would, some things like that, and like I say, the media loving for particularly, Ryan, isn't it? I mean, I still find it so disrespectful, the kind of how Rob is overlooked a lot of the time by the media.
Totally.
But the bottom line is that it's them two, isn't it? There's a lot of frenzy around them two and what they do and what they say and what they do for the club. It's just, look, it was a bit of fun. It was a bit of tongue in cheek. I believe it's, again, maybe I believe it's something that's done quite common in like American football. I think it's something that's quite common.
It is, in NFL it is, yes.
So,
and basketball as well, yeah. Yeah,
but like I say, there's no way that Rob and Ryan or Wrexham have gone to Sky and say, can we do this? Sky have approached them and asked them to do it.
Absolutely.
Like I say, bit of fun.
Yes, I totally agree. A bit of fun. I think everybody needs to remember that and just put your keyboards away, everybody, and just calm down a bit. Otherwise, you'll have to get some blood pressure pills like I'm on. So Sunday, and Wrexham met TNS in the next fixture in the Gennaro Adran League. 2 changes in the lineup from the Cardiff loss in the Cup. Lily Jones in for Maz Mahmood and Ava Suckley in for Rosie Hughes. I mean, Jamie, we as we said before, we're kind of seeing the kind of a major. You finally got your sneeze out from earlier.
Sorry, 10 minutes ago, late.
we kind of seeing now the side now pretty much locked in for these final games, and we're seeing. I think the thing for me at the moment is what a breadth of riches we now have, because obviously we've got this starting 11 and she makes 1 or 2 changes, but you think about all the players that are still in the back there that are trying to fight for their places. Liv Fuller's now come back from injury. Hannah Snape started the season strongly, and she's not getting a place. Karen Allen was a rock in the back row for us last season, can't get a place. Leah is obviously, she's young, but she's been playing. There are a number of high profile players. Abby Inderton obviously is coming. I nearly messed that up. Coming back from injury, she's not getting a place. I mean, there are so many players, aren't there? Never mind the 11 we've got on the 6 or 7 on the bench. There are more players in the background. I mean, the strength and depth we've got is pretty good.
Absolutely, and credit to the club for giving Jenny Sugarman the tools. It seems like only a couple of days ago, but obviously it was quite a while ago now at the start of the season, where we were scratching our heads, and just a few weeks away from the start of the season, and we seemingly didn't even have any players on the books. And there was obviously a lot of stuff cooking in the background. But I think credit to the club for doing what they said they were going to do, which is give the resources to the women's side of things as well. Obviously, we've been the first club to pay a fee for a player, but the players we've brought in have been fantastic, alongside some of the quality we already had. But like you say, for this level, the strength and depth is incredible. I'd argue that not even Cardiff maybe have got the same level of strength and depth. But it's great for Jenny Sugarman, isn't it, to have quality players to work with. And like you say, she makes a couple of little changes here and there, but generally it seems to stay the same sort of backbone team.
Well, it was a very Derby Day feel to this one. I mean, TNS came with a plan, and the plan was rough Wrexham up, without a shadow of a doubt, because there was lots of that. There were some particular tackles which were very, very... One on Phoebe Davis was very, very late with studs up, and she was very, very fortunate not to be seriously injured. But they kicked lumps out of her all day, as they did with Maria Francis Jones, which possibly might be a little bit of... remember us as your old club, I don't know. But I mean, Francis Jones had the last laugh, because 8 minutes in, she fired a shot. Great desire, pounce on the ball when Jones's cross was punched clear before firing it beyond Howard in goal. And then against the run of play, TNS levelled. Chapman turned on the edge of the box and shot right-footed. Slight deflection took it beyond Liz Craven into the bottom corner, which is a bit of a shame. Visitors were nearly in front again, just moments after the restart of the second half. Chapman crossing to Chantal Tia, but Craven saved at point-blank range, which was fantastic. 39 minutes then, there was an own goal by Zara Gibbs, which put Wrexham back in the lead. Harvey sort of claimed it, but you're kind of not sure from that point of view. And then both sides, sort of almost went for it. A Tia crossing from the right on 50 minutes, couldn't bring the ball under control. Knox cross for Suckley, volleyed it wide on the right foot on 51 minutes. Smith's long-range effort was saved a minute later after that. So it was really basketball, end-to-end stuff. Michaela Wildgoose, probably the only but really bad bit of the day. She produced a fantastic tackle, stopping Jones on 58 minutes, but hurt herself quite badly in the process and got stretchered off. after a lengthy stoppage when she was replaced by Erin Lovett. Nat Clark and Rosie Hughes also came on for Harvey and Suckley, respectively. And then for the last 15 minutes, it was the Katie Barker show, because she just was absolutely unstoppable. Cool finish one-on-one, which was down to Hughes' brilliant hooked ball over the top. And then Barker snatched the ball off Kaylee Baker at the other end later on towards the end and put in the fourth for Wrexham's fourth. Jamie, I'm not sure how much of this game you saw. I was at the game. I'm not sure how much you saw.
Yeah, no, I saw the flag. I saw a good chunk of it, to be fair. I think you've called out a very key point there, which it was quite evident that TNS had a game plan, which was be nasty. I think, like you said, I think some of the tackles in the game were very questionable. In a weird way, it's a bit of a backhanded compliment, because I think I think they've had to take that approach because they know that pound for pound, blow for blow, they're not as good of a footballing side. So they've, rightly or wrongly, their approach to it was, well, if we go physical and we go strong, then hopefully that can unsettle Wrexham and we can beat them that way. But it just didn't work out that way, did it? I think as much as TNS did have a few good chances in the game, and you've called out a few of the highlights there, I think generally we were very much in control. I think we had the majority of the ball, we had the majority of the better chances. And one thing which was absolutely on show, as it has been, quite a few times this season, is that kind of clinical and ruthless approach and quality that we've got. Knox again, I thought was pretty brilliant. I think she's been proper. As is often the case, it's going to be like your Katie Barkers and your Rosie Hugheses that are going to be sort of talked about for player of the season because they're goal scorers, aren't they? And that's the way it always goes. But for me, I think Knox has been fantastic this season. She's developed and improved so much. Absolutely unbelievable. Obviously she had a really big impact on the game. Like you say, Frances Jones, so it was nice to see her get a goal. She's been quality, hasn't she, since she signed. We debated that first game, the final, after we first signed, will she be put in for a final? You can see why there was no hesitation in putting her straight into the team, because she's just quality, hence why they've paid a fee for her. Like you say, I think TNS tried to leave a few tackles in on her. Just probably for no other reason. Excuse me, probably for no other reason than it's like, traitor or whatever you want to say. But her goal was a great finish. Bit of credit for their equaliser to start with. It was a good finish, to be fair. I think the Wrexham players, I think they'll be disappointed. The defenders will be disappointed that they didn't close the space down quicker. Goalkeeping, I don't know. I've not listened to a fair pod. I don't know whether Dell had any comments about the goalkeeping.
No, she didn't.
No. But then, to be fair, even though like you hit the nail on the head against the run of play, we didn't let that go to get to us. We just settled back in and got back to playing our game as best we could around their kind of aggressive tactics. And like you say, got that second goal, and then towards the end it was, like you say, Katie Barker show, wasn't it? I mean, she's just, while she's had a lean spell. She had a lean spell in the season. She's been unbelievable. How many goals that she's got now?
19 league goals.
19
league goals. She's 3 goals ahead of the next best scorer, and obviously I'm not counting their cup goals that she's had as well. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, those 2 goals were very much in line with what we saw at the start of the season, weren't they? They very much epitomise what she's about: pace, power. Once she gets goal side of you, you ain't catching her.
No.
And more often than not, her finishing is pretty clinical. The only thing that I was absolutely fucking fuming about was Maz Mahmood not scoring that goal on 96 minutes because it meant that Daz got a bullseye.
Yeah.
Which I was fucking raging about. But other than that, hey, look, tick. It's another one ticked off.
Absolutely.
And another solid performance. So, on we go.
So 2 points I've got to have. Obviously, Kate, you just talked about Katie Barker. Is she coming back into form just at the right time for us, do you think?
On the face of it, yes. I mean, I don't think it's a tricky one, really. I think she had a lean spell, but she was still contributing. She was still in games quite a bit, but just wasn't, having the clear cut chance and scoring the goals like we'd been used to in the sort of first half of the season, I think. But look, if that game on Sunday is anything to go by, she scored a brace. You can't ask any more than of your striker. And I think if she is kind of rediscovering that form from the first part of the season, then for our running, that can only be a good thing. Because, like I said, I think I used the term at the beginning of the season when she went, what was it, 8 or 9 games in a row scoring. I used the phrase cheat code because earlier in the season she was a cheat code at this level. She was, untouchable, and then tailed off a little bit. But if she's now coming back,
she still scored against every single team in this league. I mean, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
In my opinion, I think in my opinion, a fully firing, in form Katie Barker, for me, is probably the best player in the league. I know Cardiff have got some phenomenal players. We've got some phenomenal players. And I know it's easy to pick a striker and give that tag to them because, again, they get all the plaudits because they score the goals. But just the quality she possesses that we've seen a lot this season, she is, like I say, cheat code. That's the nickname for her, I think, cheat code.
So, as you say, Wrexham tick off another game. The league.
Oh, sorry. Just Michaela Wildgoose.
I'm going to talk about her in a second. Let me do this, and then I'll talk about her in a second. I want to leave that separate. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's fine. So, unfortunately, Cardiff managed to beat Swansea 2-1 at one point. Swansea were 1-0 up, and you're just thinking, yeah, come on, Swansea, do us a favour. But as usual, they let the side down, and Cardiff won 2-1. So it's as you were, Cardiff at the top. With 41 points, 1 point ahead of Wrexham, but Wrexham still have that game in hand, which is moving up pretty fast. I mean, it's done us a favour from the point of view that it's pushed Swansea back a little bit more. So there's a 7-point gap now between us and Swansea. So they're not breathing down on our neck, but we could have really have done with Swansea doing us a favour there, couldn't we? Really?
Look, it'd be nice. It would have been nice, but I don't think you can. I don't think we can overly concern ourselves with the other games and the other teams and what's going on. I think if we just the bottom line is, if we concentrate on our own games, it's in our hands, and that's all we've got to worry about, rather than worrying about Swansea taking points off Cardiff or TNS taking points off Cardiff, whatever it is. It's in our hands at the moment. And I think if we just concentrate a game at a time on what we're doing and try and produce the best, try and produce a performance that we're capable of each time we cross that white line, then we should have enough to get the job done, regardless of what anybody else does. I'm convinced that's what Jenny Sugarman will be talking to them about. It's just concentrate on what we're doing and this game, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing or who the next game is. Just concentrate on each game at a time. And if you can keep producing performances, like Sunday, very professional and getting the win, it doesn't matter what Cardiff do.
Well, as you rightly say, 4 games left to go. The only really bad point about Sunday was the injury to Michaela Wildgoose. She was running diagonally towards goal. She went to basically clear the ball. She almost cleared it kind of almost over her shoulder. And there was a twist, and you could see she just went down straight away with a scream of agony, and you just knew that this was bad. This was really, really bad. Her member of her family is on the Wrexham Women supporters group and has kept us updated, which is lovely. And we've sent all our best wishes to Michaela while she's recovering. They've scanned and there's no fracture, so that's good. They've gone for an MRI scan and they're just waiting for the results on that. I mean, obviously, it's highly possible this could be an ACL because they're prevalent in the women's games and on artificial pitches. I mean, if it's an ACL injury, that's her out for at least probably this calendar year. We won't see her again until next year, which would be really sad. The thing about it is, from our point of view, Jamie, being completely selfish for 1 second, and I apologise now for it might feel that way, but from Wrexham's point of view, this is quite a blow, isn't it? Because she's come in, she's only been playing us probably for what, 6 or 8 weeks, maybe not even that probably, but she's fitted in so well and has become such a key part of that back three. She's going to be really, really difficult to fully replace for these last 4 games, isn't she?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, first and foremost, it was a hell of a tackle.
Yeah,
it was a fantastic tackle.
Yeah.
Granted, it's come at a huge cost. I think, look, until there's confirmation, I agree with you. Obviously, it's looking and everything's pointing towards it looking like an ACL, which would just be horrible. Horrible for her because, like you say, it probably rules her out for the calendar year. I don't mean this as a criticism at all, but obviously, I don't think as much as the facilities and the resources are improving on the women's side, I don't think she's going to have the same access that one of the men's first team's players would have. Mm-hmm. I'm sure she'll be looked after. That's not to say that she's not going to be looked after. I'm sure she will be, but I'm not necessarily sure it would be the same, the same kind of treatment and stuff.
Yep.
It's a huge blow. When she came into the team, I know, I refer to her as a unit, and that sounds really disrespectful, but I meant it as a compliment. It's a really sort of blokey, archaic way of saying that. She looked like a solid defender, and she's proven to be that. That's exactly what she's proven to be. She is an absolute wall of a defender, and is very unique. It was a very unique type of player. That not only
because she doesn't just have that, she's got an incredible long ball facility as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah. She's a very unique type of player in the sense of we haven't got another direct replacement like her. And in all honesty, I don't think there's anybody else in the league kind of in the same kind of bracket where she's physically a dominating frame, but with the technical ability to go with it, is a great recipe. And she's like you said, she's been brilliant since she's come into the team, and is absolutely on merit being on that team sheet. Her and Jodie Bartle as a combo in particular have been brilliant. Look, I think we're just going to have to keep everything crossed until such time that it's confirmed exactly what it is. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And I suppose, look, if it does get confirmed as an ACL, then all we can do is, like you've already said, is send our best wishes and hope that we'll see her again in a Wrexham shirt whenever that may be.
As we can't replace her completely, as you rightly said, because she is a unique player. What do you think Jenny will do? Will Jenny move the pieces around the board to make things fit together, or will she keep things as the same as she can and maybe just drop 1 or 2 players into slightly different positions?
I mean, she's proven this season, as she's tactically very savvy, and she knows these players better than we do. she'll know their key strengths. It wouldn't surprise me if you see like a slight formation change to benefit the players that we've got available. But I would imagine that in the main, she would want to try and keep it as close as to what we generally play. I mean, so what was the lady's name that came on for Wild Goose?
Liv Fuller.
Liv Fuller.
Sorry. Erin Lovett came on for her.
So she, to be fair, she played a lot of minutes earlier in the year anyway. Is a very capable player herself. So, would it be completely unfeasible that she comes in just as a direct replacement? Probably not. But look, like I say, Jenny knows these players far better than we do. She knows their abilities far better than we do. And I think she's like I say, tactically astute enough that if she thinks that the best course of action would be a tweak in the formation, then it wouldn't surprise me if we see that. I'd be interested to see obviously what happens on in the next game.
And a call out to the ultras who were there in force. I mean, there were just over 500 there on Sunday, which was great. Fan zone was open, great for the kids. Shame the weather wasn't a bit better, but it's Wales, and you have to accept it. That's what it is. But the ultras were brilliant, including, which has made a fair bit of waves, a Wrexham version of the Eurovision Song Contest entry Eins, zwei, drei, which obviously, so Jodie's brother, Sam, who goes into Look Mum No Computer, he's entering as the UK's entry for Eurovision, and his song is quite a quirky, it's kind of 80s electro song, but the ultras have changed the words to make it more Wrexham centric, and we're singing it on Sunday, and it's had quite a bit of traction, to say the least. A lot of Eurovision podcasts have picked it up and have commented on it, and have promoted it, so that's great. So well done to the ultras for another fantastic joke. I expect, obviously, Jamie, I'll expect you to hear you singing it next week.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I will. Yeah, I'll sing it in my best Eurovision voice. I think I don't know who you probably do. I don't know who's kind of responsible for writing these songs or putting these songs together.
There's a committee. There is a committee.
Well, I tell you something. I think that committee needs to offer their services to the men's side.
I agree.
Because I think it's incredible how quickly they can come up with chants and songs for the women's side when, one of the things we talked about on the men's side this year is a little bit of a disconnect with the players because there was so much turnover of players and we haven't got chants from any of the players currently.
No.
But no, hey, look, it's brilliant and it's nice that the ultras get praise and comment from Jenny, from the players, and from other people at the club. Because it's in what is a fairly poorly attended league generally, to have, from the players' perspectives, to have that core of people, even if it's 20 people, 30 people, going home and away with you, following you, chanting your name, that must be such a big thing for the players. So yeah. Credit to all of them involved. I know you won't include yourself in that, but you should do, because you go to a lot of the games. But yeah, fair play.
Well, Tuesday night, we were hoping for a bit of midweek magic from Wrexham men as they went away to Watford to play in a midweek game. Starting 11, Jamie, only one change from the win over Swansea. Longman in for Kabore. I'm going to need to talk about it. I'll talk about it now because I could talk about it. I'm going to talk about it now. We are supposed to have this strength in depth, but there's hardly any rotation going on. A lot of these players are now, they must be surely in the red zone from a strength and conditioning point of view. Surely the staff must be going, listen, we need to give these players a rest because they're absolutely hammering them. And particularly the likes of Thomason, who he's playing in a position where he's not a winger, and yet he's running up and down that wing, playing 90 minutes every single game. That's got to be a problem. And I think this game, which we'll talk about in a second, showed that, because for me, they all look so tired on Tuesday.
Yeah, I can't agree with you enough. You know, I mean, it's ultimately it's not for us or any of us Muppets that are on these podcasts to question whether a player should or shouldn't be playing, because we're not privy to the data. But I agree. You know, surely to God, as much as these are elite athletes, and they are, and as we've talked about earlier in the season at different times, you know, I think the facilities and kind of resources that these guys have now will be, compared to, you know, any Wrexham squad or team ever, this will be the best of the best that these lads have got. But it's looked pretty evident recently that some of these players are just burnt out. And Tuesday night, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but certainly in that first half, it looked like they were burnt out. I'm flabbergasted by Keeler Dunn. You know, for a player that we've reportedly chased for 3 or 4 windows, and for a player that has had such an unbelievable first half of the season at Barnsley, granted in League One, I'd be fascinated to understand how he feels at the minute, because, you know, he's not. You know, I genuinely thought he'd start this game. I really did. I genuinely thought he'd start this game. I'm disappointed, obviously, that Kabori didn't start, but then I understand that there's some management going on, you know, with his minutes and stuff. I don't know whether, you know, I don't know whether Man City are having some input on that or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, the first half in particular was. It looked very evident that these players were knackered.
Well, I mean, I felt sorry for him. You know, Smith had virtually no service for the whole game, so all he was doing was chasing shadows. Broadhead, I don't think got off the bus because it didn't look like he did. Longman, he's you know, once you've got Kabore, it's difficult because Longman does his best, but I just don't think he's at this level. I thought the back three all looked tired. You know, why are we not bring? You know, he didn't even bring Brunt on for 30 minutes or 20 minutes as part of his recall, or put Scar in there. Why not? Why? I mean, obviously we don't know, but obviously as fans, we're going to ask that question.
Yeah,
Rathbone looked exhausted. 15 minutes in, he was done. I mean, obviously he had that penalty appeal, but just before the first goal. I mean, was that a penalty for you?
No, I again, real time watching the game on TV. I jumped up, you know, and shouted for penalty. But when I've seen it back, it's just an air shot. And I don't think, from the angles I saw, the replays I saw, I don't think that guy gets a touch on him. Although I have to say that number 8 of theirs, the guy that was involved in that incident and then went up the other end and on the counter attack, he was like a reincarnation of Carl Connolly.
Yes, Chavatsky. I can't even say his name. I can't even say it.
He was like
it would win you loads of points on Scrabble. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think before we say anything about Wrexham, I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Watford.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly in that first half, I think tactically they outdid us. You know, they very much did their homework on us and deployed our kryptonite, which is pace and power. You know, we just struggle. If you've got pace at your disposal, we struggle to deal with it, and they absolutely had it in abundance. But tie that in with the fact that, again, from what I understand from listening to some of the Watford guys on other pods and reading things, it was very much probably their performance of the season. But
seems to be the story, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whenever teams come up against us, you hear, "Oh, we haven't played anywhere like that this season." This has been by far our best performance. You know, it gets a little bit annoying.
It's the worst bullshit cliche ever, but it was a game of two halves. You know, first half, first and foremost. Look, we were terrible. You know, we were terrible. And it is what it is. It's pointless. We can discuss and we can talk about the team selection and tiredness and fatigue and everything else. It was one of those things. It's going to happen. At the end of the day, we're not going to win every game. We're not going to play well every game. But it happens. I think it's always disappointing when you lose a half or lose a game and you've played poorly. It's always frustrating to watch. And like you said, some of the performances in that first half were poor. How much of that was down to fatigue and how much of it's down to just an off night, I don't know. But it was hard to pick anyone from that first half, and we were lucky. If we're being brutally honest, we were lucky that we were only 2-0 down. I think
Absolutely.
at half time.
Absolutely.
Because we could have. I think if we'd have been 4-0 down, I don't think we'd have had many complaints.
No.
And Sam Smith, you mentioned. I felt so sorry for him. I think he was playing a game in a different postcode for most of the game.
Yeah.
Because he was that isolated. He was. He had no service whatsoever. He like I say, he was just so isolated. He was never gonna have a sniff in that game.
No.
It's
not his game though, is it? They were continually trying to pump the ball forward to him, playing him like he's Kiefer Moore.
Yeah.
That's not his game. His game is ball to feet, right?
Yeah.
And we weren't giving him ball to feet, and so he had no chance whatsoever of doing anything.
The problem that we've got is, and it's been quite evident for a few games now. Maybe if you take the Chelsea game out of the equation, but that was a bit of an anomaly. It's been very evident recently that we're missing Sheaf and James.
Absolutely.
Because we're missing the creativity. Because the problem that we've got at the minute is as much as O'Brien's been filling in there and doing a decent job, Viner's done okay. I've seen some quite critical things about Viner's performances, and look, I don't think he's been amazing, but he hasn't been terrible either. I think he has done some good things.
But I think people are comparing him to to Matty James and Ben Sheaf. That's the problem. He's not that kind of player. That's not him.
And that's not fair because like you say, he's not that type of player. Obviously, Dobson has been playing in there until was suspended for 3 games. But the problem is, none of those players have the ability to sit in that defensive midfield role and dictate a game. Certainly, nowhere near as much as Matty James and Ben Sheaf to a degree can do. And the thing is, when you've got 1 or 2 defensive midfielders that can sit there and can dictate a game from that position, it allows the number 10s then to be closer to the striker, to the lone striker, and then he's not so isolated. But because we've lacked that creativity from the deep part of midfield for the last few games, it's meant that the number 10s are having to drop back in a little bit more, and it's then leaving the striker, Sam Smith in this case, just incredibly isolated.
Well, you only have to look at the stats there: 8 shots, 1 on goal, the one we scored. That's it.
I mean that's a poor return, isn't it? In any game, you've got to be hitting the target more than once in a game. The first half was terrible. I think you've got to give a bit of credit for the second half. I don't know whether it was a combination of Parky. Parky's words at half time, or whether it was the players themselves, or
he brought Windass on literally on half time, got rid of Broadhead, so that's fairly unusual for Parky because normally he doesn't do a full change. And then obviously he brought Kabori and Keeler Dunn on for Longman and Rathbone, Cadamarteri in for Smith, and Rodriguez in for Viner. I mean, again, I know what some people are going to say, but for me, I don't know why we're bothering with Rodriguez. He again, for the amount of time he's on the field, he does nothing. And even when he does get a chance to do something, he doesn't do it, and that's a problem for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, but it really annoys me that we didn't think that Stephen Fletcher could offer something to us this season, and we thought Rodriguez could. I appreciate he's under contract, and from what we're led to believe, is quite a lucrative contract. But let's be brutally honest. He contributed when he came in the January before last with Sam Smith. The combination of the two of them were probably the key to us getting promotion.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at his contributions in those games in that second half of the season when he played, as a striker, you're going to be judged on your goals.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't score enough goals. And then this season, he's played, 5 times?
He scored 1 penalty.
He scored 1 penalty.
In a penalty
It's just,
shootout. In a penalty shootout, that's it.
I think it is what it is. I think his contract's up in the summer. I'd be amazed if he carries on. I'm sure it looks to me from the outside looking in, it looks to me like he's probably already made the decision that he's going to call it a day. Once his contract runs out, he's going to call it a day. And do you know what? I can't blame the guy if his plan is to, well, I've got another 3 months or 6 months, 12 months, whenever it was, at whatever point it was. If you're on 15 grand a week, which he reportedly is, you're not going to walk away from it. Are you? You're going to be professional.
No,
you're going to do what's required of you.
Yeah, I don't blame him. If somebody offers me a check for £1,000 to sit on my ass every week, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm going to go, all right, then fine. It's more really that Wrexham didn't think ahead, as you rightly said, and gone, is this the person we potentially want and need to be that clutch player when it comes to push comes to shove? And I know we've been spoiled by Stephen Fletcher, absolutely, because for a guy, the amount of times he came off the bench and made the difference, incredible. But the problem is that you've made that now. Fans will expect it, and you've basically not bothered. You've not thought ahead and thought we need another. We need a bench player who's going to do that for me. And there's no excitement. We used to get it with Stephen Fletcher, didn't we? Where we get to kind of 80 minutes, and then you go, "Oh, Fletcher's taking his top off," and you get excited. Yeah. We don't get that now. I mean, as soon as I saw J-Rod taking his top off, I was like, well, that's the game over then, isn't it? You might as well just throw in the towel, because for me, that's pointless. Because he's not that player for me. He's not one who you would bring on who is going to be a game changer. Maybe 5-10 years ago, yes, but not now.
Like I said before about, I was a little bit surprised that Keeler Dunn didn't start this game. There was a part of me that was hoping that Calamatri would have got a start. Sam Smith played a lot of minutes recently. He came on against.
I think Calamatri would have held the ball up more because he's taller and bigger, and that's his game.
I am scratching my head a little bit at the January signings, because you think to yourself, Keeler Dunn, what's the thinking there? Because he can't get a lot of game time, and then Calamatri, you could argue and say, oh, he's been brought as a prospect, but you've still paid £1 million for him, and you've still got a player there who has championship experience and scored goals in the championship, and he is something a little bit different to what anything else we've got. He's quick, he's powerful. Don't get me wrong. When he came on against Watford, he had a couple of touches like a baby elephant, to be fair. But I would like to see him. I'd like to see a bit more of him. And with Kiefer Moore being out, you think to yourself, well, surely there's merit there in giving him some more minutes. Like I say, it is what it is. The second half, at least, was an improvement. The performance was an improvement. We were probably similar to Swansea. We had a lot of the ball, and we kind of huffed and puffed with it. We didn't create a lot of kind of clear-cut chances.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we get that goal earlier on, which was a decent header by Max, to be fair, and that did give us some hope. But then, as the game is wearing on, and you're committing more and more forward to try and get the equaliser, you could see what was coming. And to be fair, that strike for the goal, their third goal, the strike where he hits the bar, is an unbelievable strike.
Yeah.
And it was just fortunate that it kind of came out to him and he was there to tap it in. You could argue the toss is 3-1, a fair scoreline. I don't think we did enough to we certainly didn't do enough to win the game.
As you said, we could have been 4-0 down in the first half, so maybe 3-1 actually is flattering.
I think as much as we were probably the slightly better team in the second half, I think they were by far the best team in the first half. And on the back of that first half performance and chances they created alone, I think they probably deserved to win the game. And do you know what? Shit happens. It's
I get that. You can't win them all, but
no, you're not going to win every game.
My two questions for you, right? One, we've said the players look tired. Were the players actually tired, or were Watford just too good and we just couldn't be asked?
I think it's unfair to say we couldn't be asked. It's difficult because sometimes
it's the whole thing, isn't it? Can you do it on a rainy night in Stoke?
Yeah.
Is the joke. Can you do it in a cold night in Watford? Is also the joke.
It's a difficult one to answer because I wouldn't think that there's ever an attitude of can't be asked or whatever. I think Watford were very, very good in that first half in particular. They were, credit to them, they were good. From the outside looking in, it just looked like fatigue, physical and mental fatigue. And I think it's interesting. I was listening to Parky's press conference earlier for the Sheffield United game coming up. And there was a quote in there about needing one big effort from everybody before the international break. And I think he referenced, players, staff and supporters. And I thought that was quite interesting because that kind of suggests to me like he knows and is acknowledging the fact that the players are just dead on their feet and this international break can't come soon enough. And it's almost a case of, look, just let's have one big 90 minutes and then the majority of you will get a break. And then hopefully during that break, we can also get a couple of players back. But yeah, from the outside looking in, they looked knackered. And I'd hope it's more likely to be fatigue than like an attitude problem. It is hard sometimes because you look at some of our players a lot, in a lot of games and you scratch your head thinking, they don't look arsed, mentioning no names. But that's maybe just the way they play. But for me, I think it's more of a fatigue thing. I mean, that was the fourth game in 8 days.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
That's a lot of football. As much as
more than that, but yeah, I know what you mean. Because we had Chelsea, Hull, Swansea, Watford.
Yeah.
So almost probably 2 weeks, probably close to 2 weeks, or maybe 10 days. But a lot of football in a very short period of time, and particularly with the Chelsea game, which was very intense, both emotionally and physically. That's a big.
Well, I said after that Chelsea game, didn't I, that as much of it as it was a great thing to witness and something that'll go up there in the memory for me as one of our kind of all-time great FA Cup performances, even though it wasn't the result we wanted. It was kind of worst case scenario from the point of view that we ended up having to play 90 minutes plus extra time, plus we lost George Dobson for 3 games and we ended up losing that game. It turned into being like worst case scenario. So I don't think that Chelsea game has done us any favours from a league perspective.
No, definitely not. Have to ask the question. 8 games now to go, 3 at home, 5 away. Wrexham finished the week now in 7th after Southampton won yesterday. So they've popped up into 6th. They're with the same on points. Just they're on goal difference. We're 3 points ahead of Derby County, with all the other teams as well coming up fast behind us. Are we running out of steam just at the wrong time? Are we out of form just at the wrong time? Are we going to I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say it because everybody else is saying it, and they're absolutely right. It's been a phenomenal season, and whatever happens, we have exceeded expectations beyond certainly my wildest dreams. But are we running out of steam just at the wrong time? With 8 games to go, are we going to just slowly start to fall away because of injuries, because of tiredness, because of a number of things? Do you think that's going to happen?
Before I answer that, and before I forget, I do have to just mention the Watford mascot is the shittest mascot I have ever seen in my life.
Harry Hornet? Yeah, it's a Hornet.
It looked like Colin the Caterpillar. It was the shittest Hornet I have ever seen.
It's supposed to be a Hornet. It's supposed to be a Hornet. Yeah.
It was absolutely shockingly shit.
Horny the Hornet, probably.
Absolutely shockingly shit. And the only thing that could have made it worse is if Elton John himself was in there.
Rocky Brad! Yeah, sorry.
Look, I agree with you to a point. I think on one hand, it does start. It starts to feel a little bit like we might be running out of steam, and that's not just like a reference to like the fatigue and the tiredness we were talking about a minute ago. I think just a combination of the number of games we've had to play in a short space of time, the injuries we've had to deal with, suspensions
and other teams have started to come back into form.
Yeah,
which if we're not in form as well, very quickly we can get overtaken. That's my kind of thing.
I think. Look, I think we've seen enough over the last few years from Park East teams, even though this is a very different team. We've seen enough to know better than to write them off until such a time that mathematically it can't be done anymore. So on that basis, and we've had this before, we've had this. You think about the season we got out of the National League. We lost that game to Halifax on Good Friday, I think it was, wasn't it? And we all thought it was going to be doom. The end. We lost to Reading, and we all thought it was going to be the end.
I was at that one. That was horrendous. That was a horrendous game. It really was.
So this is not new ground. And the bottom line is, at the moment, yes, okay, Southampton who have hit form at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not Easter Monday anymore now, it's the Tuesday. That Tuesday home game on the 7th of April now is gearing up to potentially be another huge Notts County style game.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think Saturday now has taken on a slightly new element of importance. I think the Sheffield United away game, I think, is really important now, because I just think avoid defeat. I think if we lose there, that's mentally and psychologically going to be a bit of a blow. But look, I'm not going to write Parky and this team off.
No, I'm not.
Until mathematically it's not possible.
Absolutely.
I get the question, because it does feel, we've not played. If you think back to the last few games, who do we play before Chelsea? Have a look. I can't remember. Not many games. So we beat Charlton. We beat Charlton away 1-0.
With not a fantastic performance, let's be honest. But
this is why I wanted to look, because we didn't play particularly well in that game. Okay, we were brilliant against Chelsea, but I think you kind of have to take that as a bit of an anomaly. We were poor against Hull. We didn't play great against Swansea, albeit we played better than we had against them previously. And then, the first half in particular, we didn't play particularly well. We didn't play well at all against Watford. So, the performances have been, in the league at least, have been not great in recent games. So, you'd be right and be fair it'd be fair to agree with the sentiment of it looks like we're running out of steam a little bit. But I think, like I say, this international break could be a blessing in disguise. You know, I normally not a big fan of the international breaks, but this one I'm really looking forward to because it gives us a great opportunity to reset a lot of things. And you know, look, one of two things will happen. We'll either get back after that international break with you know, a fresher team. You know, the majority of the team's fresh again because they've been rested. Hopefully, got a couple of players back, and we can hit those last. What will it be then? 6 games? Seven games. We can hit those 7 games and do what we've seen Wrexham do over the last few seasons, which is pick up the points when it matters. And like you just said, I think it's valid to say it now, and we'll say it many times. You know, if we don't end up doing it, whatever happens from this point on, I don't care.
No,
I don't care.
Not at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to go to the Premiership. If anything, if the Chelsea game proved anything to me, I want to stay as far away from that kind of shenanigans, VAR and prima donnas and all that crap. I want to stay as far away from that as possible. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to try, if you particularly in the position that we're in. Because as I say, next season, if we are in the Championship, who knows whether we're going to be this successful? We might struggle. Might be a difficult second album, and we might struggle.
And that's what I've been saying a lot of the time this season, is the fact that if we get to the end of the season and we look back and we've not made the playoffs, I won't be bothered in the slightest. I'll be talking about how much of an amazing season it was and has been. But I think if you just sort of isolate and be realistic and say, if you look at it purely in isolation, it is potentially a missed opportunity, because I think the league has been of a when I say a lower standard, I don't mean it's been worse than any other season. I mean from the point of view that it hasn't been 2 teams or 3 teams running away with it at the top.
Yep.
And then a big gap, which is what tends to happen in the Championship. It's been very close, and it still is quite close. You know, I know we haven't got a chance of automatics and stuff, but it's not. There's not like a 30 or 40 point deficit between, say, second and fifth.
Well, I mean, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Ipswich, Millwall. Those 4, I think, are vying for the top 2 places at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Realistically speaking. And then I think you know, with the rest, then you're looking at Hull, Southampton, us, Derby, even going down as far as Birmingham are still in with a shout with regards to that. And that, and after Watford beat us, they're now starting to come up on the rails as well. So there are so many clubs there who potentially is going to, you know, it's going to be a bun fight, to say the least.
But I just think that from the point of view of the general kind of competitiveness of the league, and more importantly, those games where we've dropped points this season, because there's been at least 3 or 4 this season where we've dropped 2 points that we really shouldn't have. That's why I've said a few times about missed opportunity. But like I say, I don't care. I agree with you 100%. You know, if we have another season in the Championship, I'll suit me down to the ground, because as much as I watch a lot of Premier League football and I enjoy watching Premier League football, exactly like you just said, after that Chelsea experience, there's a part of me that's like, I don't really know if I want that, but you do. As much as you say you don't, you do want it.
No, because I look at how Burnley and Wolves are doing this season, and they're getting hammered every week. Who wants that? But
that's the challenge, and what Wrexham want, what Rob and Ryan will be wanting to achieve is, yes, get to the Premier League, because that's the promised land. But then their mission then will be trying to turn Wrexham into a Brentford or a Bournemouth or a Brighton. You know,
but that's going to take a while, and so we're not ready for anywhere near that kind of stuff. The problem is that if we go up too soon, it will turn into Wolves or Burnley, and we will literally for all the fantastic records we've made, I don't want to be that team with the asterisk that has the lowest number of points for a Premiership. I don't want to be that team.
Yeah, I agree with you, but if there's a chance to do it this season, we've got to do it. Just purely to have the back to back, because that is historic.
It's just words.
That would be historic.
It's just words. Not if it jeopardizes the security of the club. Because you can chase a dream and he can put lots of other things at jeopardy by chasing the dream.
Yeah, but do you not think that I think they're well versed. They'll be well versed in this. They'll have plan A's, plan B's, plan C's of eventualities. And if by some miracle we did end up getting promoted, they'll have some sort of plan in place. I don't believe it would be a case of putting all the chips in, on red and leaving it like that. I totally get what you...
It will be very interesting to see when the accounts come out over the next few years how Wrexham actually have done. Because when you look at the accounts that are currently being posted by Championship clubs, they're disastrous. And the Portsmouth chairman has come out and basically said there's a tsunami coming because there is no way the Championship can maintain this level of losses because it's getting ridiculous. And you can't say that Wrexham aren't, lots of people are saying, yeah, but Wrexham get lots of income or whatever. Yeah, but they don't get that, yes, they get a very, very good level of income, but not to sustain the amount of costs that are currently going in. I mean, we're talking about wage bills that are, 37, 40 million pound a year. Clubs are losing, I mean, what did West Brom post? They posted a 17 million pound loss. And that was only half the money that they lost the year before. And they were celebrating it. We've halved our deficit. You still lost 17 million pounds in 1 year.
Oh, the money in football is just frightening. It's frightening.
And I understand, that's success. That's what you have to. Unfortunately, that's what you need to get success. It's very, very rare that you don't spend a huge amount of money and still get the success. But I don't want to do that. Yes, I'd love success. Success is great, but not if it jeopardizes the club, because we've both been there when we've seen the club be on the precipice, and I don't want to go back there.
No, I agree, but I think we've got to put our trust in the process, haven't we?
It's a good job, what we need really is, somebody on the board who has led football clubs and kept them solvent, not Leeds or Bradford, Sean Harvey. Just saying. Now, the Much Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Captain Aaron Ramsey has been left out of the Cymru squad for this month's World Cup playoffs, casting further doubt about his future. The 35-year-old has been without a club since leaving Pumas in December, having not played for the Mexican side since September. That lack of first-team football, combined with a run of injuries, means Ramsey has not played for Cymru since September 2024. Cymru faced Bosnia-Herzegovina in their World Cup playoff semi-final at the Cardiff City Stadium on Thursday, 26th of March, with the winners hosting either Italy or Northern Ireland in the final 5 days later. Craig Bellamy's side are without defender Ben Davies, obviously without striker Kiefer Moore, and without West Brom centre-back Chris Mepham because of injury. They have been replaced by Wrexham goalkeeper Danny Ward, left-back Rhys Norrington-Davis, who's on loan at Queen's Park Rangers from Sheffield United, and Rangers forward Rabbi Matondo. So the Cymru squad, goalkeepers Carl Darlow, Danny Ward, Adam Davis, and Tom King. Defenders Jay De Silva, Rhys Norrington-Davis, Dylan Lawler, Ben Cabango, Joe Roden, Nico Williams, and Ronan Capacchio. Midfielders Ethan Ampadu, Josh Sheehan, Jordan James, Joel Colwell, Harry Wilson, David Brooks, Sober Thomas, Ruben Colwell. And forwards Liam Cullen, Nathan Broadhead, Brennan Johnson, Mark Harris, Lewis Kumas, Dan James, and Rabbi Matondo. Jamie, that's a strong squad, probably the strongest we've got, although Ben Davies and Kiefer Moore are big misses for me from that point of view. The good news, I suppose, is that the likes of Ethan Ampadu are back. And I think the big one for me is Harry Wilson. There was that fear that he'd injured himself at Fulham earlier. That seems to have sorted itself out, so he will be ready. I mean, are you confident, at least for the semi-final? And we'll talk more about this next week, obviously, particularly when we get Daz back. Are you confident that Cymru have enough in that Arsenal to be able to take on Bosnia and get that win?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's the best squad available, isn't it? I mean, I think Kiefer Moore isn't sort of a guaranteed starter anyway, is he? He seems to, sometimes he plays him, sometimes he doesn't. But certainly having him available would have been a benefit. Ben Davies is a big omission because obviously he an awful lot of experience and not to mention a quality player. But yes, like you said, we've still got some quality players in there. Like you say, the likes of Ampadu and Harry Wilson. I mean, we had this conversation not long ago. It's crazy to think that these guys have got as many caps as they have because they're still relatively young. But that it's a benefit of them being brought into the senior setup at a young age. Harry Wilson could be the key, couldn't he? I mean, you go back to the kind of glory days of 2016 and stuff, and you had Ramsey and Bale. You could put your hat on them, couldn't you? They were going to be the game changers this year, both for Cymru and for Fulham. It's Harry Wilson, isn't it? He's been a one-man show. So the fact that hopefully he's fit and can play, he could be the difference. I am confident. I'm confident for the semi-final, at least.
I mean, I'm hoping, Dan James, we hope is in form because we need him. When he's in form, he's fantastic. The problem is that we put a Wales shirt on him, and unfortunately, most of the time he's not. Obviously, having Harry Wilson, he seems to be doing well coming back from injury. For me, it's Nico Williams. Every time I see Nico Williams in a Cymru shirt, he never really fires as much as he does for Nottingham Forest. And he's kind of fallen out of favour now for Nottingham Forest as well. I mean, these are the kind of the key ones for me. Ruben and Joe Colwell are in, so that'll keep the Cardiff City fans happy because they were moaning like crazy when Ruben Colwell was left out in part of the earlier campaign. David Brooks as well is key for me because he's fantastic. And there are lots of players there who've scored against Wrexham. You just hoping they're going to score against Bosnia. Jordan James, Sorba Thomas, Liam Cullen obviously scored for us. Thanks for that, Liam. Cheers. And Lewis Kumas. So there's 4 players there who have all scored in a Wrexham game, either for or against us. I mean, you'd hope that they will be able to bang that in as well.
I think you're right in regards to, like you mentioned, Dan James and Nico Williams. Maybe not necessarily being in the best of form at club level. I'm hoping that this will be very much one of those occasions where everyone turns up. It's at the CCS. We know what kind of an atmosphere and how important and how how much of a positive for the players that can be. And I hope, and what I'm kind of maybe expecting is too strong of a word, but what I'm hoping to see is that you'll see these players, regardless of their club form, will turn up on certainly again, I'm talking semi-final to start with because you can't look beyond that initially. Will turn up, and we, as much as Nico Williams, Dan James might not be in the best of form for their clubs, we know that on their day they are phenomenal players, and if we can just get one of those games out of them, then happy days. I mean, Dan James in particular, an informed Dan James is untouchable. It's just for whatever reason he doesn't seem to be able to do it consistently. I mean, I suppose that's why it never worked out for him at Man United, because he can't do it consistently. But like I say, hopefully him and a few of the others will turn up on the day.
And it's been announced that Welcome to Wrexham Season 5 will kick off in May of this year, obviously covering the last 8 or 9 months, including the summer season, I would imagine. I mean, Jamie, we knew it was coming because we knew it was there for another season. Are you excited to see what delights and joys they come up with of us with our first season back in the Championship and everything else? I mean, the Chelsea game alone, I'm sure they will have got enough footage to do probably about 3 or 4 episodes just on that, I would think.
Yeah, I'm always excited, every season that's come out. That's a lie, that is, because when the very first season came out, I was a little bit nervous, if I'm honest. How are they going to portray us as a bunch of fucking, 1,
2 right in the middle?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
What's his name off The Simpsons? Cletus. Like a bunch of
Brandine, Brandine.
But no, I think as we well know now, they do a fantastic job of putting these together, and the seasons have been brilliant. So yeah, I am excited for this one because again, it's that whole thing of like we've said a million times. This program isn't for us, but it is always still nice to see footage and things and hear stories that we wouldn't necessarily be privy to.
It puts a positive spin on our town.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
And I think that because as you know, and as I know, because I left Wrexham in 1992 and never went back.
You were chased out with a pitchfork.
I was, yes. Lots of people were holding torches and saying, "Get him." It was always difficult, whenever somebody would say you were around the world, wherever it would be, and somebody would say to you, "Where are you from?" And you kind of go, "I'm from Wrexham." They go, "Where?" And you were always kind of living in that kind of thing. That's not now.
No,
anytime I wear any kind of Wrexham branded stuff, somebody will always commenting on it. I was in a work meeting, an online work meeting a couple of months ago, and I was wearing a Wrexham hat. And one of the Americans said to me, "Is that a Wrexham hat?" Nothing at all to do with this football, whatever. That's the difference.
But that's the thing with this show, isn't it? Probably the single biggest thing that this has done is that this has been the window to the world to see Wrexham. Granted, obviously Rob and Ryan have been heavily involved and driven it heavily, but this has been the window to allow people into the story, and that's got to be a good thing. I mean, the fascinating thing I think with this is kind of how many more is there going to be? How many more stories can you tell? Because I think it's been the people involved in this, even Rob and Ryan, when they had this idea at the very beginning, they in their wildest dreams, they couldn't have written the scripts any better than how it's played out over the last 5 years.
Not at all.
But obviously, if we get to the end of this season and we end up missing out on the playoffs and staying in the Championship from a footballing perspective, that's absolutely fine. And there's still a story to tell for this season. But if we have, 2 or 3 seasons in the Championship, is that going to be an engaging enough story to keep telling?
I mean, can you see a season 6?
The answer to that is exactly what these guys will be saying behind closed doors, which is, let's see what happens at the end of this season. If we get promoted, I would say if we get promoted, or even if we make the playoffs, probably yes, because I think they'll probably look at it and say, well, even if we got to the playoffs and then missed out in the playoffs, I think they'd look at it and say, well, let's give it one more season just on the off chance. Obviously, if we got promoted, Christ, yes, they'd be another season.
Your hand off, yeah, absolutely.
Although one thing I have just noticed about that picture you put up on the screen there, the whoever's drawn that footballer in that picture there, I think he the crotch area seems rather excited. Do you not think?
I think it's just a crease in the show. Trust you to be looking at that.
Well, no, it's
a drawing, Jim. It's not pornography. Give it a rest.
No, but I know, but it looks like he's.
Yeah, I bet it does. In your imagination, I bet it does. You pervert. We need a pick-me-up. And what better way to be picked up than via the chip shop? In the absence of Daz, Jamie is ready with a van and a cloth filled with chloroform to do all the necessary dirty work. So well done to you, Jim, from that point of view. Let's look at the chip shop table. And he's not here. He's not here to celebrate. Great week for Daz. Wrexham versus Swansea. Jamie and Daz both predicted a win. I predicted a Swansea win. I get no points. They get a point apiece. Wrexham Women versus TNS Women. Daz predicted 4-1. Got it on the nose. Gets another bullseye. Pushes him out a bit further for me, which is really annoying. and even more annoying for Jamie, as he said, because Maz Mahmood, if she hadn't missed that shot, he would have got the bullseye instead, and it would have just pushed him out further, which was fantastic.
That would have been the league for me. That I think if that goal would have gone in, I think that would have been the league.
Okay, and then what you got? It's easy to say afterwards, isn't it? And then Watford versus Wrexham, we all predicted a draw, and obviously that didn't happen. So yeah, no points on that one. So from a point of view of the league, Jamie's still at the top, 81 games played, 52 points. Daz in second, 81 games played, 44 points, so 8 points behind Jamie, and then me bottom. I'm now 4 points adrift at the bottom, which is really annoying, but it's still all to play for, isn't it? It's still all to play for.
That's the new Eat More Chips slogan.
It's still all to play for, apparently. Anyway, first is the Friday tonight. It's Sheffield United. So Saturday, March 21st, Bramall Lane in Yorkshire, 3 p.m. GMT kickoff. Wrexham will make it all the way up there to play Sheffield United. Second visit to Sheffield this season. They last met in that crazy Boxing Day tie at the Stoke Kairos, where Wrexham won 5-3. Bindon own goal, 2 from Kiefer Moore, 1 from Ryan Longman, and a Josh Windass penalty. Although Sheffield were 3-2 up at half-time, 2 goals from Patrick Bamford. Sheffield United have slowly improved since December and now sit 15th in the table with 15 wins, 5 draws, 18 losses, goal difference of +1 and 50 points, 10 points behind Wrexham in 7th. Their last 5 results, a 2-1 loss at home to Coventry, a 2-0 win away at Queen's Park Rangers, a 1-1 draw at home to West Brom, a 2-1 loss away at Norwich City, and a 1-1 draw away at Birmingham. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, we're sure we're still tired. Dobson potentially could come back, but there's no hope on the rest of the injuries. Kakachi now has been officially ruled out of international duty, and Kiefer has as well, so they're out, full stop. Nothing about Matty James coming back. Apparently, his toe is taking a bit longer. Ben Chief, we already knew, was out for the rest of the season. Kakachi, I've just said it. Very disappointed from that point of view. I mean, what are we doing here? Is this kind of a last game before the international break? We just need to batten down the hatches and just try and get a draw, or is this we've got to go out now? We've got to get 3 points after losing at Watford. We have to get 3 points at Bramall Lane.
I don't think it's one you can say we have to win. There's still more than enough football to be played to be calling it a must win. But I think I would go so far as to call it a mustn't lose. A mustn't lose.
Mustn't lose, yeah.
Yeah, I think after the performance, the recent performances we talked about before, you've got to remember in the league we are now, what's that? So we got Hull, Swansea, and Watford. We've lost 2 of those 3 games. I think a defeat here is going to be a tough one to recover from, I think. On paper, you look at their position in the league, you look at their recent results, and you think to yourself, well, there's no reason why we couldn't go here and do a job. But as we well know, and I'm not saying that we couldn't do that, because Parky and the team, whether it's this team or previous incarnations of it, have proven over the years that when the chips are down, they can more often than not they can pull something out of the bag. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it's I heard somebody referencing it last night to last season that when we played Wigan we were terrible away from Wigan, and then we went and played Blackpool and we were unbelievable and ended up winning the game.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me. That being said, obviously Sheffield United, there's this strange rivalry between the clubs, which is odd considering so much has changed since that FA Cup debacle. There does seem to be some sort of a needle in this fixture. Yeah, there does seem to be some sort of needle in this fixture. I think they'll obviously be smart in as well from what happened on Boxing Day. So yeah, this this is a tough, this is a tough one.
But aren't they all tough now? 8 games to go. Aren't they all going to be? There's no. When you look at the games we've got coming, right? Sheffield United away, okay. West Brom at home.
West Brom away.
Sorry, West Brom away. Southampton at home. Birmingham away. Stoke at home. Oxford away. Coventry away. Middlesbrough at home. None of those would you say that's a guaranteed 3 points?
No, not at all. And to be fair, I don't think there's been maybe, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but maybe with the exception of Sheffield Wednesday, and even in one of those fixtures we couldn't do it. I think with the exception of Sheffield Wednesday games, I don't think there's been a fixture all season where I could hand on heart say before the game, this is a 3 point guaranteed 3 points, because it's a very, very, very competitive league. And I know it's the whole cliche thing of anyone can beat anyone, but genuinely that's how it's been. And we've kind of proved that this season. We've beaten Coventry, we've beaten Ipswich, we've beaten Millwall. We obviously drew to Middlesbrough, but then equally we've had some
let's do
terrible results.
Let's do fact packet maths, right? Let's do off the cuff here, fact packet maths, right? I don't need a score, right? I just need Sheffield United, win, lose or draw.
I still haven't decided yet. Fucking hell. You see, a draw would be a great result, but I don't think it's going to be. I think either we're going to win or they're going to win. I think we'll win.
Okay. West Brom away, win, lose or draw.
Win.
Wrexham at home to Southampton.
I think we have to win that.
No. What are we going to do?
Win.
Okay. You're a lot more confident than I am. Birmingham away.
See, I can see us losing that.
Okay. Stoke at home.
Win.
Oxford away. Until recently, that would be the most confident I would be to getting 3 points, but they're coming into form just at the wrong time for us.
Again, I can feel a bit of a sting in the tail with that one, and a draw probably on that one.
Okay. Coventry away.
It's really difficult that one, because by the time we come to play them at their place, they could have already won the league.
Could be, yeah, absolutely.
And that potentially changes. Again, unfortunately, I can see us losing that one.
Okay. And then Middlesbrough at home.
Again, it's hard to say because you don't know what's going to be riding on it. Probably a draw.
Okay. So with fact packet maths, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 points. That would put us on 74. From a point of view of averages, 74 should get you 6th. And the law of averages over the last 15 years. But
so you heard it here first. We're going to get in the playoffs.
Absolutely. But it's funny how many people have been sort of saying, when they've been doing predictions and computers and things like that, so many people I've seen have gone, Wrexham will come 7th and they will miss out on goal difference. Yeah. Which that would amplify that, because it's possible you could get 74 points and still not get 6th.
The thing is, it's so easy to do that exercise you've just done there. It's so easy to do that. It's so easy to do that now, based on today. If we end up in a situation where we lose to Sheffield United, and then our next game we go and lose to West Brom, it changes a lot of stuff, doesn't it? By the time we come to play Coventry and Middlesbrough in the last 2 games of the season, they might have already secured. They might have already secured automatics, but maybe fighting for the title or something, in which case it probably completely changes the dynamic of them. There's so many factors. It's I don't know.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce Koch. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Sheffield United versus Wrexham?
You see, you've put me on the spot a minute ago now, and I said a Wrexham win, and I hadn't actually decided.
I'm not going to hold you to it. It was fag packet maths, so it's fine.
I think we're going to lose 2-1.
Daz has predicted a 1-1 draw, which he's just sent to me. So he thinks it's going to be a draw. And I'm predicting Sheffield United 2, Wrexham 0. I agree with you. I think we're going to lose. I don't think we're going to score, because it didn't look like we were going to score on Tuesday. And I think we were very fortunate on Friday. I just think we're dead on our feet. Sorry. Yes,
I think it's worth mentioning, as much as I've got a feeling we're going to lose this game, but I think it's worth mentioning that there'll be, I think that then will mean there'll be a bit of doom and gloom.
Yeah.
A lot of people will think,
of course,
that's it now, we've shot ourselves in the foot.
Yes.
But I don't think that is going to be the case. I think we'll lose on Saturday, just on the basis of how we've played the last few games, how we played against Watford. I don't envisage a lot of changes, because he doesn't seem to do that, and there's not a huge amount he can make anyway. So, but I just wonder whether a defeat on Saturday might end up then sort of galvanising the running.
Totally. So yeah, there we go. Daz predicted a draw, and me and you think that Sheffield are going to win, so that's probably going to be a Wrexham win then, isn't it? And nobody's going to get anything. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last is the fry this week. It's TNS Women. So Sunday, 22nd of March, Park Hall, which is just outside Oswestry in England. Just saying it. 2 p.m. GMT. Wrexham Women again play TNS Women, except this time away in the General Adron Premier. It's the return fixture from last week's 4-1 win. And the chips are done. So obviously, Jamie, we said probably no Michaela Wildgoose. Unfortunately, that's that. But Wrexham do have that strength in depth. Wrexham do have to win, because although it's not doom and gloom if we don't, it makes things so much easier going into the last 3 games, knowing, we're still in the driving seat. I mean, can you see anything but a Wrexham win? I mean, first of all, are TNS going to be, because TNS is going to be at home, they will have a point to prove. Are they going to be more aggressive, do you think? Or are they going to try a different tactic to try and win the game?
I don't think I necessarily expect them to be more aggressive, because, to be fair, it was on the cusp on Sunday. I don't know how much more aggressive you can be without breaking the laws of the game. It's not. It sounds like a criticism, but it's not. The bottom line is it if you're playing a team that you're inferior ability-wise, you're inferior to, it's the best tactic to deploy. But you obviously you've got to be very careful, because there's a fine line. I don't think they'll approach the game any differently. Like you say, they'll maybe be at the start of the game, maybe be a little bit more dogged, because they'll want to try and sort of put right what happened on Sunday. But excuse me, I think Wrexham should have, regardless of what TNS do, they should have too much for them.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce Koch. Daz has predicted TNS 0, Wrexham 3. So he's predicting a Wrexham win. Jamie, what's your score prediction for TNS Women versus Wrexham Women?
I'm going to go for the same score as last week, 4-1 Wrexham win.
And I'm predicting TNS 1, Wrexham 3. I think, and that's the same as I predicted last week as well. I think it'll be the same. I think TNS will probably be a little bit stronger and a little bit wiser, but Wrexham have determination, and they'll want to prove a point. I think it'll be a difficult game because, as we said today, for enough women recorded the affair pod, as you call it. Park Hall is quite a big pitch, a wide pitch, and they will be out for blood. But I think we'll have enough. So your Wrexham win, and we'll march on. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm, and we'll be looking back on both these games in next week's pod. So there we are, over for another week. Sadly, Daz hasn't been able to join us. He's been too busy, not even able to send us a video message. So all the best, Daz. Hopefully see you next week, and take care of yourself. The next few weeks are going to get a little bit messy, to say the least, just because of the way the football's falling. So next week's episode will be out on Wednesday, the 25th of March. That's due to the fact that there are some very, very big games next week, particularly Swansea City versus Wrexham Women, which we'll be looking at, and Cymru versus Bosnia-Herzegovina. So we're going to get the episode in early. And then the week after that, the episode 148 will be out on Tuesday, the 31st, because, again, we need to predict what's going to happen, because if Cymru win their Bosnia game, they will probably play Italy, because I would imagine Italy are going to be Northern Ireland. If they don't beat Bosnia, then we'll play Northern Ireland, and it will be a dead rubber. But it's important that we look at that game. So next 2 weeks, they'll be out on Wednesday and then Tuesday before we go back to a Friday. All very, very confusing. I know Jamie will probably forget. So this is hopefully to remind him as well at the same time. But as I say, next week we'll look back at Sheffield United versus Wrexham and Wrexham Women away at TNS Women, and look forward to 3 key games for both Wrexham Women and Cymru Men. Wrexham Women are away in the rescheduled game versus Swansea City Women before taking on Cardiff City Women at the Stoke Kairos on the Sunday. That's a massive game. And then Cymru Men are at Cardiff City Stadium to take on Bosnia-Herzegovina in the playoff semi-final, where only a win will do. Please let us know by the usual channels on social media, by email. We welcome your comments, your questions. Paste it to a wall if you like, or tie it to a snake and watch it slither through the grass with the message, if you want, or make it, whatever you want to do. We don't mind, we don't mind. Catapult. That's great. Screw it up, put it in a catapult. However you want it to be. But of course, whatever happens, whatever message we get, the one who will definitely be the brunt of them, I'm sure, will be my little brother Jamie. So thank you, Jim.
No problem.
And he's now going off to play Sonic the Hedgehog, I bet.
Yeah, gold coins. I'm going Super Mario away.
Well, thank you, Jim, for that. Nice. I'm Welshtechie. I'll be joining you, of course, next week. Until next week, come on, Cymru, and please come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy has 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.